What's up, what's up? I am Chris Styles. We are here at US. We are encouraging our black and our brown men to vote. We are here sold out in Pittsburgh. You know what it is. We have so many great guests. We have Viola Davis, Fat Joe. I mean, the list goes on. Corday is here. Please, we really deeply encourage y'all. Our votes matter. It matters, it matters, it matters. We need you to go out there, get those ballots, vote, and yeah, we'll see you inside.
Listen, I know y'all tired. We don't got a front. It's 7 days out from an election, and I am here because we all know, and we are supposed to, and we don't really need to go into depth about how important it is that not just Pittsburgh, but Black Pittsburgh, that Black and brown folks in our state, in our region, in our country recognize the power that's in our vote, but not just our vote, the power that's in our resistance, the power that's in our melody, the power that's in hip hop. I want y'all to know, because these last 7 days are going to be intense. If my sister Jasmine, she hasn't been here for a long time, so she hasn't had a chance to see the ads that run on TV all day. She doesn't know how intense the atmosphere here is in our great swing state. But you know, it's coming at us from every single angle. But the one thing that a lot of folks that think that get drowned out a lot of the times when we're going through election cycle is how powerful really are Black and brown folks. How important is it that we not just participate, but actually work to shape society? So I'm here for that part, because I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or not vote for. I'm going to tell you to vote for you. I'm going to tell you that every single election cycle, our job, our role, our responsibility, our duty is to fight for our freedom. Our duty is to win, which means that we have to always be grounding whatever we do in that responsibility. How do we win for our communities? How do we make sure that as we are moving through 2024, we've come out of a pandemic and we've come through insurrection and we've come through so much more? What does that mean for Black and brown folks in our country? What does it mean for us when we are talking about the tools that we have to will? Voting is one of those tools. Shaping is the bigger tool, though. With everything we have, it's our responsibility to make sure that we are empowering Black men, that we are empowering brown men. And what does that mean? That means to help them to understand what is at stake on this ballot. When I think about what's at stake on this ballot right now, I think about every Black and brown boy who's going to a school that's been underfunded systemically for generations, decade after decade. And then I think about all my colleagues at the state house level, like Latasha D. Mays, who's here, who's in Harrisburg right now fighting to make sure that we got a funding scheme so that our kids are going to school where they get a chance. Everybody's coming to Pittsburgh. Please don't stop coming when this is over. We want you. Come back. We love to fellowship with you. But right now, it is my distinct honor to welcome into Pittsburgh and to welcome onto the stage an absolute giant. I am not moved by very many people, but this is a woman who I think everybody in my community has looked up to. When I think about the great sister Viola Davis, and when I heard she was coming to Pittsburgh, I said, I got to put my best foot forward. I got to put my best foot forward, because there is nothing that this incredible woman has not and cannot do. So she makes us and she invites us all to step up. She's used her artistry as activism. She's used it to lift up stories. She's used the traumas of her past to inform her future, to make brighter futures for other people. And she's not just an EGOT winner. She is so much more. She's a Black mother. She's a Black producer, a Black philanthropist, a Black opportunity maker. So without further ado, for our next portion, Miss Viola Davis and our own brother Jasiri X.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're so happy to have you.
Be back.
So speaking of Pittsburgh, right? The last 2 times you worked in Pittsburgh, you made history.
I did?
Right. You got nominated and won Best Supporting Actress for Fences.
Yes.
Give it up. And should have won Best Actor in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Oh, thank you.
Can you just talk about your experience coming to Pittsburgh and how has it been?
Pittsburgh feels like home. That's what it does. Listen, August Wilson, wrote about the Hill District. So we shot Fences here. We shot Ma Rainey here. And I have to tell you, all the people in the Hill district, how they surround you, how they protect you, and you don't always feel protected. You don't always feel protected in your life. You don't always feel protected, when you're out there in the world. So I feel like it's home. People would invite me into their homes. There was this one woman during Fences that she laid out the whole first floor of her house and brought food, everything. So, and I'm always looking for home lately. I feel like that's the thing that always is elusive when you're Black. It's finding that space of truth where you don't feel shamed for speaking your truth and being as Black as you are, feeling as honest and translucent as you are. You don't feel that, not in a world that, where white supremacy rules.
You're right. Well, you always have a home here in Pittsburgh. Isn't that right, Pittsburgh? Always have a home here. It's interesting because we're in this moment now. Speaking of, having a home, being Black, speaking your truth, we're in this historic moment where a Black woman is running for the highest office. Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah. As a Black woman who has pushed up against and broke through the glass ceiling, in all of the work that you're doing, how do you see this moment right now? How are you feeling, and how are you talking to other people about it?
I've been mad, so I'm trying not to. I'm not trying to not be mad. I'm mad. I'm always negotiating, y'all, what to say.
Come on, sis. We got you.
Shirley Chisholm says, as a woman, that you have to become revolutionary. It can't be an evolution. It's got to be a revolution. All right? And what has consistently happened as a Black woman, I always say that if I weren't famous, I would be invisible. There is something about being a Black woman in society where you're always fighting to be seen. You're always fighting to be acknowledged. All right? And then after that, after you conquer that, then you're always fighting to be protected. Okay? And so now, with Kamala running, it just feels like both a revolution, and it is also extraordinarily frightening, and it also is a huge reveal of our community. I already know what's going to happen with the white community, with us. That doesn't surprise me. I've been surprised by us. There's a famous quote is, I've seen the enemy, and the enemy is us. Malcolm X keeps talking about he would talk about the field Negro and the house Negro.
Yes.
And the field Negro knew who they were, and they knew that they were being enslaved, and they had their autonomy. They understood who they were. But the house Negro so closely identified with their white culture that they didn't see any difference.
Right.
So if the master was sick, it was, master, we sick. If the house is on fire, it's, master, our house is on fire.
Right.
It's not your house. Okay? And I've just been extraordinarily disappointed in the fact that we continue to embrace. Listen, we know a lot of things have gone on. J.D. Vance saying the frontiersmen built this country. What the hell is that? We see that really the high top ugly gold sneakers as a way of connecting to our community. We saw him say that, calling the jobs of illegal immigrants, black jobs. It's like, stop even just dropping whiskey and saying the first shot is for the ancestors. You're not doing it for the ancestors if you are embracing that mantra.
Come on. Beautiful.
At all.
At all.
We've had Brian Stevenson, who created the Lynching Museum. He started with 3,500 cases of lynching in this country. Okay? That was on record. And then he did his own research and uncovered 7,000 more. And that's in a 50-year period. And then historians said, that doesn't even scratch the surface. We're being surprised at Supreme Court decisions about affirmative action and Roe v. Wade. When we had Dred Scott, we had a Civil Rights Act of 1875, 1883, Plessy versus Ferguson, all of which the Supreme Court struck down, keeping us in Jim Crow and slavery for over 100 years after slavery, after the 13th Amendment. I'm trying to, you got to convince me why you want to go back. And I'll tell you why you want to go back. Because we are so entrenched, not everyone, with being that house Negro.
True. Come on. Tell it like it is.
But that's what's keeping us alive.
True. Survival.
Survival and the fear, the conditioning that there is no black consciousness, that there's no autonomy, there's no agency, that if you think that, then that's got to be true. Instead of stepping out and creating, it's like Kamala says, we got to move forward.
Yes.
Okay? There are two Americas we can serve. Okay? And I always say that America is like that uncle that paid for your college education but went to jail for mass murder. Okay? That's what America is. It's like Barbara Jordan said, what the people want is simple. They want an America as good as its promise.
That's right.
We have never been a part of that promise, y'all. Okay? So to embrace it is to move us back so many years, by the way. And there's a part of me that feels like, what master are we serving?
True. Wow.
You know, I think we're better than that.
We certainly are.
You know, this past year for me has been a big revelation personally. I felt like I went through a whole period of being burnt out. And so the beauty of being burnt out and the beauty of hitting rock bottom is that, like they say, that everything that you've ever dreamed of is in the pain that you don't want to feel. You may not want to feel the pain that America, which is the only entity that we're not talking about in all of this, is America. The pain is that they've never saw us. If we've ever achieved anything in this country, it is despite of, not because of.
Absolutely correct.
I read on Instagram a brother, I didn't say anything to because, I love us. I don't care what, I love us to the grave. But I saw a post from a black man. Very simple. Let's make America great again, y'all. Trump 2024. And I thought to myself, you know what? I don't know what I could say to change that brother's mind.
Right. Well, would you, speaking of that, because part of the reason why we wanted to have this conversation is really what happened when, President Barack Obama kind of came to Pittsburgh and talked to specifically to the men about stepping up in this moment. Are you having conversations with the men in your life? And what are you, and how are you talking to them about how you think we should be showing up in this moment? When you mention protected, I think about, that's my role as a black man.
You mean talking to black men who are going to vote for Trump?
No, I'm talking about the.
I haven't been talking to any of them.
I doubt that you have those people in your life, but just maybe black men who might not.
I don't know who they are.
Right, exactly.
But at this point,
yeah. But maybe black men who are thinking like, voting's not worth it. I'll choose the couch. I'm gonna sit this one out. What words of inspiration would you give to anybody that might be thinking about skipping this moment, particularly in a state like Pennsylvania, where maybe only a few votes could decide? In 2020, we decided the election. Pennsylvania was the state that decided the election for Joe Biden. What advice would you give to those individuals?
Well, I feel that to not vote, I don't think that people understand. I always have, first of all, let me just say this. I always have extraordinarily, should I say, lively conversations in my house with every black man, black woman who come through it. I refuse to not speak my truth. I can't do that. I've got to belong to myself. Okay? I think to not vote is to absolutely abandon every single human being in your life. You are leaving them in the side of the road. As they say, a soldier doesn't fight because he hates what's in front of him. He fights because he loves what he left behind.
Wow.
And you're leaving everyone behind. And the thing about it is, y'all, we haven't healed yet. There is no healing if there's no acknowledgement of the pain. What we have a tendency to do, here's the thing, and not to become the nerd for a few seconds, please forgive me, is that as an actor, I have a production company. As an actor, what art is about, it's not about escaping. It's not even about masking. It's about revealing. And then through the reveal, it's about the connection, okay? So therefore, what does that mean? What that means is if you've got to be brave enough to share the story of your heart. And what has a tendency to happen with us is, girl, you can't tell me I'm not strong. I'm a strong black woman. Or I'm a man, you can't tell me what to do. I'm blah, 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 blah. You know what? Oh, so-and-so, that was a great performance in that movie. The face was beat. Did you see the clothes they had on in that scene? That's not doing jack shit. Okay? What art is about is revealing everything that's in that soul and vomiting on the floor. The joy, the pain. It's like when people say, black joy, everything is about black joy. Listen, life is not just about joy. Joy and pain exist at the same time in life. And if you don't reveal the parts of yourself that have been damaged by this country, then you can't get on the business of healing. And century and generation after generation, we make the same mistake of not revealing. We have the third highest maternal mortality rate in the world. And with black women, it's 4 times higher. Okay? In every single field, in every single area, we have been abandoned. They did a study on mass shootings. 98% of mass shooters are white males. So they did a study, and they found out that what's motivating it is loneliness. So our gang members aren't lonely?
Come on.
M15 gang members aren't lonely? We're not seeking something in this life that can heal us to the point where we can get at these dreams. That we could get at a place of hope. That we could get at a place of, this is the most tragic thing, is what is going on with black men and black women? Why is there this separation? And I'm not accusing any one side, but y'all, we either move forward together or we don't move forward at all.
Come on, come on, come on.
Okay? So, sometimes an election is about the lesser of two evils. There is absolutely nothing that's going on that hasn't gone on before. We talk about crazy politicians out there spouting their rhetoric.
Yes.
Okay? We had, look at me, this is menopause brain. Menopause, the guy from University of Alabama who then got shot in the back, who was like, Negro, in the front of University of Alabama, didn't let anyone in. George Wallace, thank you. We've had George Wallace. We've had Andrew Johnson, who was a white supremacist. We've had, once again, the Supreme Court decision. Dred Scott that led to the Civil War. Supreme Court shot it down. Civil Rights Act, 1883, shot it down. Plessy versus Ferguson kept us in Jim Crow. The Middle Passage, which nobody talks about. We've seen it before. And let's not talk about all the people who died. Fannie Lou Hamer being beaten by a tire iron, y'all.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? It keeps repeating. We have to be brave enough to get beyond whatever feeling we have about Kamala. Let's just be honest. It's about who we don't want to vote for. We don't want to, a lot of black men don't want to vote for a black woman. I didn't want to say that here because I don't want to denigrate black. I love my husband. I love every black man in my life. I love, okay? No matter what.
Yes.
But it's about who we don't want to vote for. So you're going to vote for a white man who doesn't give a about you.
Come on. We certainly are.
Hired a comedian.
Yes. Yes. To make fun of us.
Listen, y'all got friends in your life that's going to tell some black jokes in front of you? And you going to sit quiet? We voting for a man who hired a comedian for a rally.
Yes.
To make fun of you. And you're saying that's my candidate.
Crazy.
Because he's entertaining.
Crazy.
At your expense.
Insane. I have one last question. I mean, you're on fire. Can we give... I have one more question. Wow. One of the reasons we exist as One Hood Media as an organization is because another EGOT poured into me and poured into us. The late, great Harry Belafonte was somebody that I was blessed to spend a lot of time with. You spent 5 minutes with Mr. B. He talked about Paul Robeson and how artists are the gatekeepers of truth. And he lived his life in such a public way to not just do art, but make sure that our community was poured into. Why was it important for you to come? Clearly you didn't have to be here. I know you have 1,000,001 things, but why was it so important for you to come here and for you to utilize your platform in the way you do to speak not only truth to power, but make sure that our community understands the moment that we're in today?
Well, I think that you said it. For our community to understand where we are today. You already said it. But you know what? Here's the thing. I personally believe we come from a magnificent people.
Yes.
Okay? So I have a tendency to be very abstract. Forgive me. But there is a narrative form, I think they call it. Joseph Campbell, he's a writer, a mythologist. And he wrote something called The Journey of a Hero. And they use that structure, every screenwriter, to write a hero in every story. And you know what a hero is? A hero is someone who is born into a world where they don't fit in. And then at some point when they are birthed, they get a call to adventure. It could be a divine calling, who knows? It could be a whisper. And they refuse the call because they don't know what it is and they're too afraid. But at some point, they answer that call to adventure. And they journey forth to see what that is. They slay dragons. They have allies that go on the journey with them. They have mentors who advise them. And they're searching for something, that elixir, that answer, that truth, to bust a hole in their life. And the final part of the journey is when they go to that inmost cave. And in that cave, they don't find a god. They don't find demons. They find themselves. They come face to face with it. And then they get that elixir, that magic potion. And they piggyback to that ordinary life where they didn't fit in. And they share it with others. I'm sharing my elixir with you.
Beautiful.
And that elixir is you got to share the story of your heart. Okay? There is no shame in it. We are born and we have been brought into a culture that has consistently disappointed us. That has consistently, if you've read the newspaper, The Liberator, old newspaper from the 1800s, when they would literally post lynchings. The Negro Tyrone Washington is going to be lynched tomorrow, come one, come all. And then they would report the lynching. Yeah, we cut off his fingers. There was a little bit of blood. He was hyperventilating, but he stood strong. Then we cut off his arms, and the blood was splurting everywhere. This is actual fact. And the Negro really started to flip out. Then we started to burn him, and the crowd went crazy. And then we finally chopped his head off, and we strung him up. And the people in the audience, they took the souvenirs of ears, fingers. We have to honor that life. And by honoring that life, I'm telling you, what you also have to honor is all of that pain. And by showing it, what you're doing is you are forcing your home, which is this country, to work for you. Just like therapy. Therapy don't work if you walk in the therapist's office and say, listen, I'm good. There ain't nothing wrong with me. You got to leave it all on the floor. They've got to see what they've done to us. They have to see what they continue to do with us. And let me tell you something. We have to continue to see it. I don't know about you, but listen, with my husband, I'm just going to say, I feel like I'm a liberated woman. I do. I'm very liberated. I speak my truth. And by the way, liberation doesn't mean the absence of pain. It doesn't mean that you don't have weak moments. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that I'm aware of who I am. But my husband, when he walked into my life, changed my life. I need him. I do. I think every day, at some point when we look at each other, that one or the other of us are going to have to go on without each other. Okay? We need each other. I need you. And Black women, we need our men. We do. We are wired for connection. That's what we're wired for. And I came here for that. I came here to share that elixir. Because it's like I always say, you can either leave something for people or you can leave something in people. But when you leave it in, it burns like an ember. It is an eternal flame. We've lasted this long. We got to go further. Yeah.
Can we give a round of applause? Can we stand up, y'all? That was amazing. The legendary Viola Davis, y'all. Thank you so much.
For me, I could look throughout my whole life and see men who were like, God was in the home, you know, from my father to my stepfather. Respect was in the home. Respect was in the ways, in the culture. Love is there. Fun, joy was there. Right. Strength, and the struggle. And, you know, I'm not saying that we haven't had any issues or, you know, like we human beings. We go through things on this planet that create struggle, but it also builds character. And I think the character overall of black men has been one of overcoming and showing empowerment and showing a certain type of commitment and dedication and perseverance that has allowed us to rise to be some of the most influential figures on the planet ever. Like from this country. Absolutely. After everything we've been through. So to label something is, to me, to label a whole like demographic of people, like that's where to me you don't have the knowledge and understanding of a people.
All right, we're getting warmed up. All right, we're so thankful to have the sister Viola Davis with us. She brought the pain that we needed to hear. Brothers, I know y'all ain't scared to vote for a woman, so I'm just saying that. I know y'all not scared. Y'all not scared of women leadership. We wanted to bring some strong sisters with powerful voices today, and so next we're going to bring to the stage Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. All right. Welcome. Our task is to follow up.
I was about to say, I don't
Well, I'm going to try to
down.
I'm going to try to build off of some of the things that she talked about.
Okay.
She talked about Roe v. Wade. I know that's one of your women's reproductive rights.
Yeah.
Is one of your issues. And in the state of Texas, it's kind of a big deal, setting the tone for the nation, not necessarily in a good way.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the things you're doing in that area and some of the things you're fighting for?
Yeah. So what's up, Pittsburgh? I wear y'all's colors. I'm gonna just say it like this. You know, as I've traveled the country before this presidential about repro. I went to Ohio. I went to various states that had it on the ballot because unfortunately we can't get it on the ballot in the state of Texas. Like we don't have ballot access in that way. But to keep it short, in January, they are planning to go into session and introduce the death penalty for doctors and women who have the audacity to decide that they want some bodily autonomy. I think that it's beyond a travesty, but it is why I am not sleeping right now. It is why I am traversing this country. And every time I show up in a place in which someone's vote matters a lot more than mine in Texas, I explain to them that I'm fighting for my constituents. Because literally we already know that women are dying everywhere, but they literally are ready to fry us if we can somehow survive whatever complications we may have going on. One of the messages that I deliver, though, because there are those that want us to believe that we need to grapple with our faith, because as Black folk, we good about going to church now, right? But here's the reality. I don't really care if people agree with abortion or not, because I'm not asking you to have one. Like that's not really the issue. And Black people historically have always been good at minding their own business. And so I need the government to do the same, to mind their own business. But more importantly, it is this underlying theme of freedom that you hear the vice president talk about. And so while you may say, oh, well, that doesn't involve me, I don't have a uterus, I'm too old, whatever your excuses are for supporting the ignorance that our government has introduced and the chaos that they've introduced, the reality is that there is some freedom that you do care about. And that freedom may be on the chopping block, and this may set the precedence for chopping away at that freedom. The other point that I make is this, is that abortion affects and impacts all of us. Whether we're talking about the impact on our healthcare system, because you have people that are coming in these very emergency situations, or whether you're talking about something like housing. I had a constituent of mine who owns a nonprofit, and the point of this organization is to help women with children and or women that are about to have children that need wraparound services, but mostly they need housing. And she said, what are y'all gonna do on housing? And I'm like, well, so long as MAGA Mike is the speaker, we can't get nothing done. We gonna get Hakeem Jeffries though. Yes, we're gonna get Hakeem Jeffries. And so she said, okay. And I said, why are you asking about housing specifically? She said, I had a 48-year-old unhoused woman who came to me and she's pregnant. Now, I'm not going to say that this unhoused woman is someone who liked to live on the streets, but she did not want to bring a child into this world and be on the streets. So for everybody complaining about the cost of housing, well, if there's more people that need houses, guess what? And our supply hasn't gone up. That means the cost is going up. Like, this impacts us all in so many ways.
I wanted you I want to talk about housing more, but I first want to, if you could talk a little bit about why you feel that the issue of women's reproductive rights is an issue for Black and brown men.
Oh, I mean, listen, first of all, everybody came from a woman. I just want to be clear. And the reality is that we rely on women, right? Like, when we look at who's taking care of the household, who's going to get the kids, who's doing all the things. I mean, just imagine the most important woman in your life somehow being gone. Just imagine the impact that would have on your life. Listen, we are, Viola just talked about the fact that we are one. We are. And so now this idea that you're like, well, it's you, so it doesn't matter. No. Do you know how many men have been devastated because they've lost their wives? I mean, like, legitimately, she just said, I need my husband. She just said that every day I look at him.
Right.
I mean, and so we are partners in whatever ways. Even if you're brother and sister, everybody that's got siblings, y'all already know. This is who we are. And so, but even still, we can even distill it down more into economics. If you start talking about someone who, say, is having more children than they can care for, are you just going to let them go broke? No, that means that now you're going to help that loved one that you have. But, I don't know that we even get that far as Black women, because the maternal mortality rate for Black women has always been an issue in this country. And now you start to add to the fact that they don't even want to provide for the care that we need in our most destitute situations. And we know this isn't a money issue. This is a color issue, because we saw what they did to our sister Williams. She got plenty of money, and they still almost let her die.
There was a man here in the Pittsburgh area who, when the pandemic was ending, he was evicted from his home. His landlord came to the house, put a sign on his door. He came outside, and I know he just heard something at the door. He came outside, and he went out to the car, and he was shot by this person and was killed. I'm curious to know, as we've seen this housing crisis really start with following the pandemic and continue to escalate, what can we expect as solutions around housing, with that cost of housing rising about 30% since before the pandemic?
Yeah, so housing is one of the most complicated issues that we have, but I can tell you what Vice President Harris has a plan for, not a concept of a plan. So one of the things that she wants to do is, just like I talked to you about housing supply, She wants to make sure that we increase housing supply. Now, there's going to be a lot of different ways that she can do that. She can offer special loans to those that decide that they're going to go in and build those actual affordability is a whole other conversation too, affordable housing. In addition to the fact that, we don't talk about it a lot, but as members of Congress, we travel the world all the time. And so one of the things that I was looking into is, why are we having issues? And some of my guys told me that we have a transformer shortage, and it boils down to nickel. And there's been a fight over nickel because nickel is what we use for battery-operated vehicles. So it's things like that. It's trying to make sure that we are increasing our supply chains and that we're diversifying our supply chains. But more importantly, right now, when we look at it, the interest rates are high. So we've got people that aren't moving out of their homes that would be buying bigger homes because they're like, I'm not going to pay more for the home and pay a higher interest rate. Like, that's not going to work. And so then you don't have that supply that would normally go to the first-time home buyers. So one of the things that she wants to do is make sure that there's $25,000 down payment assistance for those that are buying their first-time homes. But it is a complicated issue, and there's a lot of things that we have to do, both on the supplier side as well as on the buyer side.
Okay. Last thing, and then we're out of here. If you can, one of the reasons we wanted to have this session with the sisters was really to say, we're standing together. What words of encouragement would you give to Black and brown men about the importance of participating?
Yeah. So first of all, I love y'all. And this division that they trying to create is not real. I stand with Black men. And honestly, even this narrative about Black men deciding that they're going to go for Trump, I don't really buy that either. And I have traveled to every single battleground and beyond. I will tell you that Black men are catching all the heat because Black men are the most solid voting bloc behind Black women for Democrats. But the reality is that misogyny is going to be an issue in this election, no matter what male race we talk about. There are going to be some men that feel a way about a woman. But I am here to tell you that just like I stand 10 toes down for you, I'm asking y'all to stand 10 toes down for a real one. A real one that has a record, that has a real record to run on. When it came down to being a prosecutor, listen, let me tell you something. We've all wanted progressive prosecutors. We've all wanted them when we were dealing with Breonna Taylor. We wanted them when we were dealing with Tamir Rice. We wanted them in every single one of these cases where we just wanted a prosecutor that saw that our Black lives have been taken and felt as if the officer should be prosecuted. So yes, we do need good prosecutors, and yes, she's always been one. There are those that want to say, well, she locked everybody up for weed. That is not true. Let me tell you real clearly. Number one, she wants to legalize it for everybody in the country recreationally. But in addition to that, they can only find 45 incidences of her locking people up for marijuana. And I can tell you, as a criminal defense attorney, I had more people go to prison in Texas than 45 on the defense side because I did not have a good prosecutor. I had people that were seeking convictions instead of seeking justice. So I am here to tell you that I don't buy the narrative, and I hope you don't give in to the narrative. I hope that you don't give up on us because I'm not going to give up on you. Listen, I am here to tell you that we don't get paid what we are worth in any of these good government jobs, but we don't do it for the money. We do it for the culture. You just heard from my good sister Summer. I am only the 55th Black woman to ever swear into the U.S. Congress, and we are on the precipice of having the first Black woman to swear in as the President of the United States. We are seeking position and power at these tables so that we can break down these systems that have plagued this country since its existence, that have denied us access in every single way. We have lived and walked in your shoes. We understand, we care, and we love you. So just give us a chance because honestly, so far we haven't failed you yet.
Thank you.